A decade ago, Portugal took the bold step of completely decriminalising the use of all drugs. At the time, the country was suffering the highest instance of drug-related AIDS deaths in all of Europe. Drastic action needed to be taken to reach out to the addicts. But opponents warned the course that Portugal took would turn the country into a drug abuser's paradise and that usage would soar. David O'Shea travelled to Lisbon to assess the success or otherwise of the 10-year-old experiment.
At the end of a long day, graphic designer Nuno rolls himself a joint. Portugal's relaxed drug laws mean that marijuana smokers like Nuno can light up without fear of arrest.
I like it. First of the day.
That night, Nuno takes me on a tour of Lisbon's thriving nightlife, where demand for drugs is high. There's no shortage of offers, even with the camera on.
Basically, whatever you want to buy, good stuff, it shows up on the street.
The country's liberal drug policy has decriminalised the use of all drugs, from marijuana to heroin and everything in between.
Actually, you can take drugs, you cannot have them, but it's not a crime to take it.
But as Nuno explains to these tourists, police have the power to confiscate any drugs they find.
You can't traffic it, so you're allowed to have
a certain amount of anything.
Yeah, but even though if they catch it,
you will still get a ticket?
No, but they will probably keep the substance.
Oh, they'll just confiscate it. Come on! I don't know. It's better than America. In America, they do more than just take it. You probably will go to jail. And a lot of money.
Portugal's controversial decriminalisation law, which took effect in 2001, was born of desperation.
At the beginning of the 90s, we had 100,000 people hooked on heroin, which is enormous.
Family doctor João Goulão saw the effects of the heroin epidemic every day in his practice.
And it was difficult to find a family that had no one with serious problems with drugs. Lots of people died with it, lots of people got AIDS, for instance, two generations were killed by drugs.
Frustrated by a system which treated drug users as criminals and not as addicts needing treatment, Dr. Goulão has been the public face of the decriminalisation policy since its beginning.
This political evolution that has been led much more by professionals than by politicians.
A few days ago, 16-year-old Pedro and a friend were picked up by police near their school with some cannabis.
Levaram-nos para a esquadra. Disseram para ter cuidado, para não avisaram-nos sobre as drogas.
Part of the decriminalisation policy, the police referred Pedro, who preferred not to be identified, to the Commission for the Dissuasion of Drug Addiction. Accompanied by his mother, that's where he's off to now.
Are you nervous going here?
No.
No? Why not?
Não tenho razões por isso.
I'm not reason.
Nothing to worry about?
Não.
Então, e atualmente, Pedro, com que regularidade é que costuma consumir?
Se for nos fins de semana, às vezes, alguns fins de semana.
Normalmente consome sozinho ou acompanhado?
Acompanhado.
Não, nunca experimentou nenhum outro tipo de substâncias. Ora, o Pedro sabe quais é que são os efeitos que o consumo do haxixe pode eventualmente vir a ter na sua saúde?
Sim.
Sim. Mas vou dizer que se continuar a fumar haxixe de vez em quando ao fim de semana, vai chumbar de ano. Por isso convém ter algum cuidado nesta fase, pelo menos enquanto está a estudar, porque o haxixe começa a ter algum peso em termos das capacidades cognitivas.
We know that we are not some miraculous structure where people come to and then they just stop using drugs. We know that people, when the people come here, eventually they will still continue to do drugs like they used to. What we hope for is that they do it in a more conscious and more responsible way.
Nós, no caso da aplicação de sanções, no caso de haver um segundo processo, o Pedro aí já será considerado incidente e aí já terá a aplicação de uma sanção. O primeiro processo, o que a lei diz que nós devemos fazer no caso dos consumidores não toxicodependentes é suspender provisoriamente o processo e não aplicar nenhuma sanção.
For a second offence, there may be a fine, community work or encouragement to attend a drug rehabilitation program at a facility like this one. Prison and a criminal record have been replaced with treatment and therapy like art classes.
Consider drug users a criminal just because they are using drugs. It's not a very realistic approach.
Here, former addicts are relearning the basics of coordination after years of abusing their bodies. But not everyone is happy with the system. Back at the Dissuasion Commission, 40-year-old Rui has had problems with hard drugs in the past, but was referred here for possession of a small amount of hashish.
Pode dizer para a juventude, para os adolescentes, sim, dar-lhes uma lição, metê-los no programa para dissuadi-los, para ver se conseguem. Mas para mim, eu não vejo mal nenhum em fumar um charro ou outra pessoa fumar um charro.
What we do here, if people want our help, we are able to help them. If people don't want our help, we cannot impose our help on them. Of course, it wouldn't work that way. But if people are willing to receive our help, we can be really helpful for them.
Now I can say that drug addiction, problematic drug use, has decreased.
Thousands of drug users have been through this process, and Dr. Goulao is proud of the program's success.
We have a decrease in the use of any illicit drug among youngsters. We have a record number of people under treatment.
At the European Monitoring Centre for Drugs and Addiction, Brendan Hughes tells me the most important part of the drug law is the work of the Dissuasion Commission.
Portugal is the only country in Europe, maybe the only country a lot wider, which has actually changed all of its structures to reflect the fact that it believes that drug use is a health problem rather than a criminal problem.
This is an area where there are a lot of addicts.
Heroin or everything?
Everything.
The policy change has had a big impact on police work. Undercover agents from the Criminal Investigation Unit take me out on their beat.
You see these guys? Some of them are burglars and some of them are drug dealers. This one also is a drug dealer.
Decriminalising personal use is supposed to allow police to concentrate on catching dealers, whose activities are still illegal. But that's easier said than done under the new laws.
That little guy that's sitting down over there. No.
What about him?
He's a drug dealer. We have arrested him.
You've arrested him recently?
Yes, with cocaine.
Mm-hmm. And what happened? He went through the...
He went to the judge and the judge set him loose.
The judge what? Set him free?
Yeah.
Right. The police say at street level, the dealers now have the upper hand.
Aproveitam, podem dar com aquela quantidade mínima que
os consumidores podem andar, aproveitam isso para andarem com essa quantidade, para que se forem abordados pela polícia, não, eu sou consumidor, eu consumo, esta é a droga, e eles sabem que a gente vai-lhes apreender droga, não os vamos prender, vamos notificá-los pela comissão. Esta lei foi boa para eles para isso, e eles aproveitam essa lei para eles ajudar a fazer o tráfico.
What's she smoking? Crack. Yeah.
They also complain it's become more difficult to get information from users on the streets in order to catch dealers.
Porque eles agora sabem que no máximo vão ser notificados para a comissão e em termos criminais não lhes acontece nada. Se fosse na lei antiga, provavelmente colaboravam mais com a polícia.
So after 10 years, has the Portuguese policy been a success? Brendan Hughes says it all depends on what set of statistics you look at.
Evaluating a drug law can be as complicated as you want to make it. The Portuguese system, if it works for them, they're very happy. Objectively evaluating it, you can do many different evaluations, and depending on what you put into the evaluation, you will come to different conclusions.
One much discussed fact is that cocaine use in Portugal has risen, but it's a trend that continues right across Europe. Proving direct links to the introduction of the drug laws is difficult. What is clear is that the fight against drugs and drug addiction will probably get tougher as the European debt crisis spreads and austerity measures bite. These demonstrators are not the only ones worrying about the future.
Surely you're about to face massive funding cuts, which will jeopardise the programme, right?
Yes, I believe we are going to face very, very serious budgetary constraints.
And as things get worse, Gulau believes that the services they offer will be needed more than ever.
In this context of difficulties in the country, I believe that more people is going to use in a problematic way alcohol and other drugs. More people will try to survive and to feed their children at home by smuggling, by making a small trafficking of drugs.
In the 90s, the drug problem was Portugal's top political and social issue. These days, it hardly rates a mention, perhaps the best measure of the policy's success.
In 10 years of governments in Portugal, and they have changed from left to centre-right to left, back to centre-right, drugs is off the agenda. There is no discussion by opposition parties that they want to come back and bring in the old system. It seems like everybody in this country is happy with it.
Filmed and reported by David O'Shea. There are more details on Portugal's drug laws on our website, and you can give your opinion of them there at sbs.com.au/dateline. Coming up, Christopher Hitchens.
Portugal won the war on drugs by giving it up. For more than 100 years the United States has looked to prohibition to curtail the use of drugs. Proponents argue that by making substances like marijuana, cocaine, and heroin illegal, government can significantly reduce drug-related crime, prevent addiction, and stop the spread of drug-related disease. The results have been less than impressive. In fact, Michael Botticelli, the director of the Office of National Drug Control Policy, said the war on drugs has consisted of failed policies and failed practices. Among alternative policies proposed to better achieve the stated goals are decriminalization of drugs, relaxed enforcement and penalties for drug offenses, and outright legalization of all drugs. Yes, all of them. The legalization guinea pig. These options may sound counterproductive, but the data tell a different story. In 2001, Portugal shocked the world and voted to decriminalize all drugs in response to a growing heroin problem. Things like drug trafficking remain illegal, but drug users are viewed as ill rather than criminal. Instead of immediate arrest and incarceration, people caught with less than a 10-day supply of hard drugs are taken before a special court of legal experts, psychologists, and social workers. The goal is a health-focused solution to drug use, with an occasional small fine or community service. 15 years later, plentiful data tell a drastically different story from what many predicted. Drug use among 15 to 24-year-olds has decreased dramatically, and drug-induced deaths dropped from 80 in 2001 to 16 in 2012. Before 2001, Portugal confined around 100,000 drug users. Within the first 10 years of the policy's adoption, this number halved. Today, Portugal boasts one of the lowest drug usage rates in all of Europe. People are leaving the drug market and seeking treatment. The number of individuals registered in rehab has risen from 6,000 in 1999 to more than 24,000 in 2008. The number of heroin users who inject the drug has decreased from 45% to 17%. Injection rates are particularly important when discussing drug-related disease. Drug addicts now account for only 20% of HIV cases in the country, a significant improvement from the previous 56%. These results can be explained with basic economics. As people get help for their drug use, the number of users, that is, the demand for drugs, falls. When the demand falls, drug suppliers find that their once lucrative enterprise no longer bears fruit. So they exit the market. Redirecting resources. This would explain why a 2010 study in the British Journal of Criminology found that after decriminalisation, Portugal saw a significant reduction in the imprisonment of alleged drug dealers, from 14,000 in 2000 to 5,000 in 2010. In fact, the proportion of people in jail for crimes committed while under the influence of drugs or to feed a drug habit fell from 41% in 1999 to 21% in 2008. By redirecting resources previously allocated to arresting and jailing drug users, Portugal has not only curbed its drug problem but has created a healthier society. When asked what the global community should take away from Portugal's policy, Alex Stephen, president of the International Society of the Study of Drug Policy, said, "The main lesson to learn is that decriminalizing drugs doesn't necessarily lead to disaster, and it does free up resources for more effective responses to drug-related problems. There is something to learn from treating drug use as a physical and mental illness. Consider the results of the Portuguese policy versus the US approach. While Portugal's rates of use, incarceration, and illness have all fallen, drug use in the United States has remained relatively unchanged for the past decade. Each year 1.5 million people are arrested on drug-related charges, 80% for mere possession. Half of all federal incarcerations are drug-related. Few would argue that drug use isn't a problem. Without a doubt, drug use presents problems for public health and destroys many lives. But when examining the efficacy of drug policies, the US model is nothing short of a complete failure. It's time to look at alternatives. As the Portuguese case illustrates, so-called radical policies may be perfectly reasonable.
Hey Charlotte County, this is Charlotte County COPWATCH, and I wanted to explain what fair use is. You can use pieces of news articles if you're doing it for news reporting, you have commentary, and you're doing it for education purposes. So that's what fair use is, as you can see right here. Another reason why I wanted to make this video is to let you know I have just joined with Patreon. A nice thing with Patreon, I make no money on YouTube. They took the money away years ago, and so this is another way to give, and it's a nice thing too because you can give monthly. You can give $1, $5, $10, whatever. I do 4 to 5 hours a day on trying to wake the sheeple up on how corrupt it is and different ways that you can fight the corruption. So Patreon is a way that you can do it, and then of course the old way is still there. Donate to Charlotte County COPWATCH with PayPal or credit card. So keep that in mind. 4 to 5 hours a day. I make no money, but the corruption happened to me, and I'm sick of it, so I'm trying to wake people up. But my wife would love it if some, if we could get some help out there. There's 47,000 subscribers. Just think if each one of you subscribers just gave a, let's say, actually, yes, $1 a month. 47,000 subscribers gave $1 a month. That would be awesome. That's not going to happen. But anyways, that would be great if it did happen. But, do the math in your head. Just think about it. Like I said, 4 to 5 hours a day. I get no money from YouTube. YouTube has gone nuts. You can't do anything anymore. They're taking the money away everywhere. So these are a couple different ways that you can still help out with all this time that I put in. And as you know, I'm in a special situation where, at least I can do it. 4 to 5 hours a day. We have a cleaning company during the day. That's what allows me to do this, and we're debt free. So this is my hobby. I don't go fishing and all that other crap. I try to save the world. So help me out to make the wife happy, man. In fact, if you guys did give $1 a day, and there was 47,000 of you, and you did it, and each of you gave $1, and that was every month, oh my God, yes, I could quit. I could start suing them. Another idea, too, that we have is, if I got, some funds, we could actually contact everyone that has been ticketed and or arrested and put in jail and start sending them postcards to let them know we're here, and to see if everything went all right, and if it didn't, find out their story. So we could even do more investigations and more lawsuits. Lawsuits take money. So just think about that. 47,000 of you so far right now. $1 a day. $1 a month on Patreon, or $5 a month Patreon, 10, 20, whatever. Just do the math in your head. Help out. This is a lot of work every single day. Thanks.